The Galactic Council chambers fell silent as Ambassador Zethkar's antennae twitched with barely contained fear. The insectoid diplomat's usually steady voice cracked as he delivered the news that would shake the foundations of their peaceful galaxy. "The Void Reapers have returned," he announced, his compound eyes reflecting the holographic display that showed dozens of massive black ships emerging from hyperspace rifts. "Our outer colonies? They're gone. Completely sterilized." Council members from 17 different species shifted uneasily in their seats. The crystalline overlords' forms dimmed with worry, while the gas-dwelling nebula folks' translucent bodies pulsed with agitation. Everyone knew the stories of the Void Reapers, the ancient plague that had once swept through their galaxy like death itself, consuming entire civilizations before vanishing into the dark between stars. "How many ships?" asked Chancellor Morden, her scaled hide changing from its usual blue to a sickly yellow that indicated deep concern among her people. "Intelligence estimates over 3,000 capital vessels, each one the size of a small moon." Zethkar's mandibles clicked nervously. "They've destroyed the Kepler defense grid in less than 6 hours. The automated distress beacons stopped transmitting before our fastest ships could even reach the border." The hologram shifted to show the aftermath of the first attack. Where the thriving mining colony of Kepler 7 had once orbited its star, only debris remained. The planet itself had been cracked open like an egg, its molten core cooling in the vacuum of space. "What about our defense fleets?" The question came from General Vorthak, a warrior from the militant Razor Spine Confederacy. His species had never lost a battle in recorded history, but even his voice carried a tremor of uncertainty. 17 defense fleets have engaged the enemy," Zethkar replied, manipulating the hologram to show tactical data. "Total casualties, 100%. Not a single ship escaped to report back. We only know what happened because of long-range sensors." The chamber erupted in panicked chatter. Species that had been allies for centuries began pointing claws, tentacles, and appendages at each other, old territorial disputes suddenly seeming important again when faced with extinction. "Order! Order!" Chancellor Morden's voice boomed through the chamber's translation systems. "Fighting among ourselves won't solve this crisis." "Then what will?" demanded Ambassador Cleeth, her crystalline form fracturing slightly with stress. "Our greatest fleets are nothing but space dust. Our most advanced weapons couldn't even scratch their hull plating. The historical records are clear. When the Void Reapers came before, they left no survivors." "Actually," a quiet voice interrupted from the gallery, "that's not entirely accurate." All eyes turned to the human ambassador, Dr. Sarah Chen, who had been sitting silently in the observers section. Humans were among the newest species to join the Galactic Council, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 50 years ago. Most council members viewed them as curiosities, bipedal mammals from a small blue world who had somehow survived their own aggressive nature long enough to reach the stars. "I beg your pardon?" Chancellor Morden's head crest flattened with confusion. Sarah stood slowly, her simple diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial garments worn by other ambassadors. The historical records show that the Void Reapers disappeared suddenly during their last campaign, roughly 800 years ago. They were in the middle of consuming the Antares sector when their entire fleet simply vanished. "Yes," Zethkar's antennae twitched impatiently. "That's what saved the galaxy. They retreated to wherever they came from." "Or they were stopped," Sarah countered, stepping down into the main chamber. "Earth's deep space monitoring stations have been picking up ancient signal fragments for decades. Automated distress beacons, weapon signatures, ship registrations. Most of it is too degraded to translate. But our quantum archaeologists have pieced together fragments of the final battle." The chamber fell silent again, but this time with curiosity rather than fear. "What did you find?" Chancellor Morden leaned forward. Sarah activated her own portable holographic projector, displaying a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with various points highlighted in different colors. The Void Reapers didn't retreat. They were destroyed, right here, in what you call the Dead Zone. Every being in the chamber knew about the Dead Zone, a region of space where no electromagnetic radiation existed, where even light itself seemed to die. Ships that ventured too close reported complete system failures before losing contact forever. It was marked as a navigation hazard on every star chart in the galaxy. Impossible. General Vorthak's spines rattled with disbelief. The Dead Zone has existed for thousands of years. It's a natural phenomenon. Actually, it's approximately 812 years old, Sarah replied calmly. The same age as the Void Reaper's disappearance. And the radiation signature at its edges matches theoretical projections for what would happen if someone detonated a stellar core implosion bomb. The chamber erupted again, but this time with astonishment rather than panic. A stellar core implosion bomb? Ambassador Cleeth's crystalline form rang like a bell with shock. That's theoretical technology. The energy requirements alone would drain the power grid of an entire star system. Unless you had access to something called a neutron star harvester, Sarah continued. Earth's xenoarchaeology teams have found evidence of mining operations in 17 neutron star systems along the Void Reaper's last known route. Someone was extracting dense matter on an industrial scale. But who? Chancellor Morden's scales had shifted to deep purple, indicating intense curiosity among her species. Sarah's expression grew solemn. The signal fragments we've decoded contain ship registrations and crew manifests. Most are too damaged to read, but some are clear enough to translate. The ships belong to something called the Human Colonial Alliance. The silence that followed was deafening. That's impossible, Zethkar finally managed. Humans barely had spaceflight 800 years ago. Your species was still confined to your home system. According to our own historical records, yes, Sarah nodded. But history is written by the survivors. What if the humans who stopped the Void Reapers weren't from our Earth? What if they were from somewhere else entirely? She manipulated the hologram to show a different view of the galaxy, highlighting systems beyond the current borders of known space. Our deep space telescopes have identified over 200 star systems with planets that show signs of past terraforming. The atmospheric signatures match Earth-standard environments, but the technology used to create them is far beyond our current capabilities. We think there was a human civilization that spread across this galaxy long before our recorded history began. And you believe these ancient humans fought the Void Reapers? General Vorthak's voice carried a note of respect that surprised everyone present. I believe they won, Sarah replied. The question is, did any of them survive? Before anyone could respond, emergency klaxons began blaring throughout the council chambers. The main holographic display automatically switched to incoming priority transmissions from the outer defense perimeter. Fleet Admiral Koroth's image appeared, his usually pristine military uniform scorched and torn. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship was clearly in chaos, with crew members frantically working at damaged stations. Chancellor, the enemy has broken through the third defense line. Their advance fleet is moving directly toward the core systems. Estimated arrival time, 18 hours. How many ships? Chancellor Morden demanded. The scanners can't get an accurate count. They're using some kind of sensor-dampening field that makes their fleet appear larger than it actually is. Could be 300 ships, could be 3,000. The Admiral's image flickered as his communication array took damage from distant weapons fire. We need a miracle, Chancellor. Our conventional forces can't stop them. The transmission cut to static, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Sarah stepped forward again, her voice cutting through the despair. I've been authorized by Earth's government to make an offer to the Galactic Council. All eyes turned to her once more. Give us access to the restricted archives, every record you have about the Void Reaper's previous campaign, every piece of ancient technology you found in the Dead Zone, every fragment of data about the civilization that stopped them before. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. In return, humanity will take point in the defense of the core systems. With what fleet? General Vorthak laughed bitterly. Your species has maybe 50 military vessels, most of them converted cargo haulers. The Void Reapers will brush you aside like cosmic dust. Sarah's smile was grim but determined. General, you're thinking like someone who's never faced extinction before. Humans have been preparing for this fight our entire history. We just didn't know it yet. She activated her communicator, speaking in rapid English to someone on the other end. Within seconds, new holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing Earth's orbital shipyards in unprecedented detail. The assembled diplomats gasped as they saw massive construction bays that had somehow remained hidden from galactic sensors. Ships unlike anything in the current galactic fleet were nearing completion, sleek, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Stealth carriers, Sarah explained, kinetic bombardment platforms, antimatter torpedo boats, and something we've been working on since we first heard the Void Reaper stories. Gravity well generators based on theoretical physics from those ancient signal fragments. How long have you been preparing for this? Chancellor Morden's voice was barely a whisper. Since the day we joined the Council and learned that the galaxy had monsters in it, Sarah replied. My species doesn't believe in being defenseless. We've been reverse engineering every piece of ancient human technology we could find, following trails that led us across half the galaxy. And if you're wrong? Ambassador Cleeth asked. If these ancient humans weren't as powerful as you think? Sarah's expression hardened. Then we'll find another way to win. Because the alternative is extinction, and humans have a bad habit of refusing to die quietly. The council chamber fell silent as the weight of the moment settled over everyone present. Outside the station's viewports, distant stars seemed dimmer somehow, as if the approaching darkness was already beginning to swallow the light. Chancellor Morden stood slowly, her scales shifting to a deep red that indicated momentous decision-making among her people. The Galactic Council grants humanity full access to the restricted archives. May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on us all. As the council members filed out to prepare for what might be their final hours, Sarah remained behind, staring at the holographic display showing the approaching Void Reaper fleet. She whispered something in English that the translation systems couldn't quite catch, but those few who knew the human language understood. Come and take it. The restricted archives of the Galactic Council stretched for kilometers beneath the capital station, housing millennia of collected knowledge in crystalline storage matrices that hummed with barely contained energy. Dr. Sarah Chen moved through the halls with practiced efficiency, her portable scanner recording everything, while her mind raced to process the implications of what she was finding. This is incredible, muttered Professor Martinez, Earth's leading xenoarchaeologist, as he examined a fragment of hull plating that predated the current galactic calendar. The molecular structure is completely unknown. It's like someone took regular steel and convinced it to be something else entirely. Sarah barely heard him. Her attention was focused on a collection of data crystals that had been found floating in the Dead Zone's outer edge, their contents partially corrupted but still readable. The more she translated, the more her understanding of the galaxy's hidden history began to shift. Professor, look at this. She activated her portable hologram projector, displaying the decoded contents of one crystal. It's a tactical report from something called the Human Stellar Navy, dated approximately 800 years ago. The hologram showed a three-dimensional battle map with tactical markers moving in complex patterns around what appeared to be a Void Reaper dreadnought. The scale indicator made Sarah's breath catch. The human ships in the simulation were massive, each one easily the size of a modern galactic capital ship. Fleet Admiral Helena Vasquez reporting, Sarah read aloud from the translated text. Project Longinus has achieved preliminary success. The prototype Gravity Lance successfully penetrated Reaper shielding at a range of 12,000 kilometers. Recommend immediate production scaling for fleet-wide deployment. Martinez looked up from his examination of the hull fragment. Gravity Lance? That's theoretical technology even by our current standards. Not for them, Sarah replied, switching to another data crystal. Look at this manufacturing report. They were building ships at a rate of 3 per day across 17 shipyards, industrial capacity that makes our current fleet look like a toy navy. The archive chamber's main door slid open with a soft whisper, admitting Chancellor Mordun and General Vorthak. Both looked haggard from sleepless hours spent coordinating the evacuation of outer colonies. Any progress, Ambassador? Chancellor Mordun asked, her scales shifting through nervous color patterns. More than we hoped for, Sarah replied. The ancient humans weren't just advanced. They were specifically preparing for a war against the Void Reapers. Look at this. She activated a larger holographic display that filled the center of the archive chamber. The image showed a detailed schematic of what appeared to be a massive space station, its design unlike anything in current galactic architecture. They called it Fortress Sol, Sarah explained. A mobile command platform capable of coordinating fleets across multiple star systems simultaneously. The power core alone generated enough energy to move artificial gravity wells. General Vorthak's spines rattled with amazement. How large was this station? According to the specifications, roughly the size of a small moon. Sarah zoomed in on various sections of the schematic. But here's the interesting part. It wasn't built from scratch. They took an existing asteroid and converted it using something called molecular restructuring technology. Impossible, Chancellor Mordun breathed. The energy requirements... They harvested it from dead stars, Professor Martinez interrupted, looking up from another data crystal. I'm reading industrial reports about stripping the dense matter from neutron star cores. They were essentially mining collapsed suns for construction materials. Sarah nodded grimly. The ancient humans weren't just fighting the Void Reapers, they were outbuilding them. Every tactical report I've found indicates a strategy of overwhelming numerical superiority backed by technological advantages. Then why did they lose? General Vorthak asked. Who says they lost? Sarah countered. The Void Reapers are gone, aren't they? She activated another hologram, this one showing the final data transmission from the ancient human fleet. The image was corrupted and filled with static, but the audio was partially recoverable. This is Admiral Vasquez, to all remaining fleet elements, the translated voice began, filled with exhaustion and determination. Operation Samson is now in effect. All ships, execute final protocol. For Earth, for the colonies, for everyone who will never know we were here. The transmission cut to static, leaving the archive chamber in heavy silence. They won by destroying themselves, Sarah said quietly. The final battle took place in what's now the dead zone. They detonated their entire fleet, along with whatever superweapon they'd been building, to ensure the Void Reapers couldn't escape. Chancellor Mordun's scales had shifted to a deep purple of mourning. A civilization that advanced, sacrificing everything to save people they'd never met. That's very human, General Vorthak observed, and there was genuine respect in his voice. Sarah's communicator chimed with an urgent message. She listened briefly, then looked up with renewed determination. The Earth fleet has arrived at the rally point. It's time to see if 800 years of preparation was enough. The command deck of the EFS Indomitable was a study in controlled chaos as Captain Elena Rodriguez coordinated the largest human fleet ever assembled. Through the main viewport, she could see over 200 ships arranged in precise formations, sleek destroyers that seemed to bend light around their hulls, massive carriers loaded with prototype fighters, and at the center, the pride of Earth's fleet, the dreadnought Prometheus. "Sensor report," Rodriguez called out. "Long-range scans confirm enemy fleet composition," replied her tactical officer, Commander Park. "Roughly 800 capital ships, each one approximately 3 times the mass of our largest vessels. They're maintaining tight formation and moving at 60% of maximum speed." "They're being cautious," observed Admiral Sarah Chen, who had transferred her flag to the Indomitable for the coming battle. "The ancient records indicate they used overwhelming force in previous campaigns. This time, they're testing our defenses first." Commander Park looked up from his station with concern. "Admiral, with respect, our numerical disadvantage is significant. Even with our technological advantages—" "Commander," Admiral Chen interrupted, "have you read the tactical analyses from the archive data?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then you know that our ancestors faced similar odds and found a way to win." She turned to address the entire bridge crew. "The Void Reapers are counting on fear, on the galaxy rolling over and dying quietly. But humans have never been good at dying quietly." Captain Rodriguez nodded to her communications officer. "Open a channel to all fleet elements." The main screen shifted to show a grid of ship captains from across the human fleet, men and women who had trained their entire careers for a battle they hoped would never come. "Captains," Admiral Chen began, "in approximately 6 hours we're going to do something that the galactic military considers impossible. We're going to stop a force that has consumed entire civilizations." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I won't lie to you about our chances. The enemy outnumbers us 4-1, and their individual ships are larger and more heavily armed than ours, but we have advantages they don't expect. We've been preparing for this specific fight for 50 years, and we're not fighting alone." Admiral Chen activated a tactical display showing the disposition of galactic forces throughout the sector. "The crystalline overlords are providing long-range sensor support. The Razor Spine Confederacy is handling civilian evacuations. The Nebula folk are maintaining communication relays. Every species in the galaxy is counting on us to buy them time to escape." "And if we can't?" asked Captain Wong of the destroyer Relentless. Admiral Chen's smile was grim. "Then we make sure the Void Reapers remember why they stayed away for 800 years. The tactical alert klaxon began sounding throughout the fleet as long-range sensors detected the approaching enemy formation. "Enemy fleet dropping out of hyperspace," Commander Park reported. "Distance, 10 million kilometers and closing. Estimated time to weapons range, 4 hours, 37 minutes. Admiral Chen stood, her hands clasped behind her back as she studied the tactical display. "All ships, assume formation Delta 7, launch all scout fighters, and establish a sensor perimeter. And Commander Park?" "Yes, Admiral." "Activate the Lazarus Protocol." A hush fell over the bridge as crew members exchanged glances. The Lazarus Protocol was theoretical technology, based on incomplete data from the ancient human archives. No one knew if it would actually work in combat conditions. "Lazarus Protocol activated," Park confirmed. "All ships reporting successful quantum entanglement establishment. Fleet-wide neural network is online." Admiral Chen nodded with satisfaction. "Now we find out if our ancestors were as clever as we think they were." The quantum entanglement network was humanity's answer to the Void Reapers' massive individual ships. By linking every human vessel through instantaneous communication, the fleet could coordinate attacks with precision impossible to achieve through normal command structures. Each ship would know exactly what every other ship was doing, allowing for tactical maneuvers that would seem like magic to outside observers. "Admiral," Commander Park called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the enemy fleet. On screen." The main display shifted to show the bridge of a Void Reaper command ship. The creature that appeared was humanoid in basic shape, but wrong in every detail, too tall, too thin, with eyes that held depths of malice that seemed to extend beyond physical space. "Unknown vessels," the Reaper spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "You will withdraw immediately or be destroyed. This sector has been claimed for harvest." Admiral Chen stepped forward. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Stellar Navy. This sector is under galactic protection. You will withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Reaper's expression shifted to what might have been amusement. "Human? We remember your species. 800 cycles ago, you delayed our harvest with crude weapons and desperate tactics. This time will be different." "You're right," Admiral Chen replied. "This time we're ready for you." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in tense silence. "Enemy fleet is accelerating to attack speed," Commander Park reported. "They'll be in weapons range in 93 minutes. Admiral Chen turned to address her bridge crew once more. "This is it, people. Everything we've trained for, everything our species has been building toward since we first learned to reach the stars. We are the inheritors of a legacy 800 years in the making, and today we honor that legacy." She settled into her command chair, her voice carrying across the fleet network through the quantum entanglement system. "All ships, battle stations, commence Operation Prometheus." Throughout the human fleet, weapons systems came online that had never been tested in actual combat. Gravity lance projectors based on ancient schematics, antimatter torpedoes guided by quantum targeting systems, and most importantly, a distributed artificial intelligence network that would allow the fleet to fight as a single organism. As the Void Reaper fleet closed to attack range, their formation began to spread out, preparing to envelop the smaller human force in a classic pincer movement. It was a tactic they had used successfully for millennia, overwhelming their enemies through sheer mass and firepower. But the human fleet didn't respond as expected. Instead of falling back or forming a defensive formation, the ships began moving in precise patterns that seemed random, but were actually following algorithms derived from the ancient tactical databases. "Weapon range in 30 seconds, Commander Park announced. Admiral Chen's grip tightened on her command chair's armrests. "All ships, you are weapons-free. Show them what humanity learned from our ancestors." The first exchange of fire lit up space between the two fleets like a miniature star going nova. Void Reaper energy weapons lanced out with devastating power, only to be met by precisely coordinated point defense networks that absorbed and redirected the energy back at their attackers. "Direct hit on enemy vessel designation Alpha 7, Park reported with excitement. "Their shields are fluctuating." "Impossible," Admiral Chen breathed. "Nothing should be able to penetrate Reaper shielding with conventional weapons." "It's the quantum targeting system," explained her science officer, Lieutenant Commander Torres. "We're not hitting their shields. We're hitting the spaces between the shield generators. The targeting data from the ancient archives showed us exactly where their weak points are." Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Our ancestors really did know what they were doing." The battle was just beginning, but already the tide was turning in ways no one had expected. The battle raged for 6 hours across a volume of space larger than most solar systems. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from the command deck of the Indomitable as her fleet executed maneuvers that would have been impossible without the ancient tactical algorithms recovered from the archives. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, their quantum-linked network allowing them to respond to threats and opportunities faster than any conventional command structure could manage. "Enemy formation is beginning to fragment," reported Commander Park, his voice tight with exhaustion and adrenaline. "Their flagship is falling back, but they're bringing up reserve squadrons from their rear guard." Admiral Chen studied the tactical display with growing concern. Despite their technological advantages and superior coordination, the human fleet was being steadily overwhelmed by sheer numbers. They had destroyed nearly 200 Void Reaper vessels, but the enemy still had over 600 ships in fighting condition. "Ammunition status?" she asked. "Antimatter torpedoes at 30%. Gravity lance capacitors are running hot. We'll need to reduce firing rate or risk overloads," Commander Park replied. "And casualties?" The silence that followed was answer enough. 43 ships destroyed, 17 more with critical damage," Commander Torres reported quietly. "We're down to 60% combat effectiveness." Admiral Chen closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of command like a physical force. In the quantum network, she could sense the determination of her remaining captains, but also their fear. They were giving everything they had, but it might not be enough. "Admiral," Commander Park called urgently, "we're detecting massive energy signatures from the enemy flagship. They're charging some kind of superweapon." The main display shifted to show the Void Reaper command ship, a vessel the size of a small city that bristled with weapons beyond current galactic understanding. Energy was building around its forward sections, creating distortions in space itself. "Energy output is off the scale," Torres reported. "Whatever they're planning, it's designed to end this battle in one shot." Admiral Chen's mind raced through tactical options, but every scenario led to the same conclusion. They couldn't stop a weapon of that magnitude with conventional forces. Her hand moved unconsciously to the data crystal hanging around her neck, the final record from Admiral Helena Vasquez, 800 years in the past. Suddenly, her eyes widened with understanding. "Commander Park, do we still have communication with the archive station?" "Yes, Admiral. Chancellor Morden has been monitoring the battle." "Patch me through to Professor Martinez. Emergency priority." The scientist's face appeared on the secondary screen, surrounded by ancient data crystals and holographic displays. "Admiral, I've been watching the battle feeds. Your people are fighting magnificently, but... Professor, I need you to find something specific in the archives. The ancient humans used something called Operation Samson to destroy the Void Reapers. I need to know exactly what that operation entailed." Martinez's expression grew troubled. "Admiral, from what I can determine, Operation Samson involved the deliberate detonation of their entire fleet. It was essentially a suicide mission." "That's not what I'm looking for," Admiral Chen replied. "There has to be more to it. A civilization that advanced wouldn't sacrifice themselves without a specific purpose. What were they trying to accomplish?" Martinez began searching frantically through the archive data. "There are references to something called a quantum resonance cascade, but the technical specifications are corrupted." "Admiral," Commander Park interrupted urgently, "the enemy superweapon will be ready to fire in 90 seconds. Admiral Chen felt time slipping away as she watched Professor Martinez work. Around her, the bridge crew prepared for what might be their final moments, checking their restraints and running last-minute system checks. "Wait," Martinez called out suddenly. "I found something. A technical manual for quantum resonance manipulation using the Void Reaper's own energy signatures against them. According to this, their ships all operate on the same base frequency to maintain fleet coordination. And if you could generate a quantum cascade at exactly the right frequency, it would propagate through their entire fleet instantaneously. Every ship would experience simultaneous system failure." Admiral Chen felt a spark of hope. "What would it take to generate something like that?" "According to the specifications, you'd need a massive energy source and a fleet-wide quantum network to focus the resonance." Martinez paused, his face paling with understanding. "Admiral, you're not thinking of attempting this, are you?" "How massive an energy source?" Admiral Chen pressed. "The theoretical calculations suggest the complete conversion of matter to energy from approximately, oh God, from approximately 50 starships." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. "Admiral," Commander Park said quietly, "enemy weapon charging sequence is at 90%. Admiral Chen stood slowly, her decision crystallizing with terrible clarity. She activated the fleet-wide communication system, her voice carrying to every remaining human ship through the quantum network. "All vessels, this is Admiral Chen. I'm going to ask something of you that no commander should ever ask of their crews. In 60 seconds, the enemy is going to fire a weapon that will end this battle and doom every species in this galaxy to extinction." She paused, gathering strength for what came next. "We have one chance to stop them, but it requires the sacrifice of our entire fleet. I'm requesting volunteers to remain and execute Operation Samson Protocol while the rest retreat to minimum safe distance." The response was immediate and unanimous. Every captain in the fleet volunteered without hesitation. "Negative," Admiral Chen replied, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice. "This is my decision and my responsibility. All ships except Prometheus and her escort squadron will retreat to coordinates uploaded to your navigation systems. That's an order." "Admiral," Captain Rodriguez said quietly, "requesting permission to remain with the Prometheus." "Captain, as senior surviving officer, you'll be needed to coordinate with galactic forces. With respect, Admiral, screw that." Rodriguez's voice carried a slight smile. "I've served with you for 15 years. I'm not leaving you to face this alone." Similar voices began echoing across the communications network as captain after captain refused the order to retreat. Admiral Chen felt tears running down her cheeks as she realized that her fleet had made the same choice their ancestors had made 800 years ago. "All ships, acknowledge the order," she said firmly. "Prepare for quantum resonance cascade initiation." "Admiral," Professor Martinez's voice crackled over the communication link from the archives, "I'm uploading the complete technical specifications now. The process will take approximately 30 seconds to build to critical resonance." "Understood. All ships begin power transfer to quantum network generators. Prepare to channel everything we have into one final transmission." Throughout the human fleet, fusion reactors were pushed beyond their safety limits as every available erg of energy was funneled into the quantum entanglement network. The space around the ships began to shimmer with barely contained forces as the network prepared to broadcast a signal that would reach across the entire Void Reaper fleet instantaneously. "Enemy weapon firing in 10 seconds, Commander Park announced. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as the Void Reaper superweapon reached critical charge levels. In a few seconds, it would fire a beam capable of cracking planets, aimed directly at the heart of her fleet. "Quantum resonance cascade ready for transmission," Torres reported. "All ships confirming optimal energy levels. 5 seconds to enemy weapon discharge." Admiral Chen thought of Earth, of the blue skies and green fields she would never see again. She thought of the billions of beings across the galaxy who were depending on this moment, most of whom would never know what happened here. 3 seconds. She thought of Admiral Helena Vasquez and the ancient humans who had faced this same choice 8 centuries ago, who had shown that sometimes the only way to win was to be willing to lose everything. "Fire!" The quantum cascade erupted from the human fleet like a wave of invisible fire, propagating through the quantum entanglement network and broadcasting across every frequency the Void Reapers used for fleet coordination. The signal reached their ships at the exact moment their superweapon discharged, and the interaction between the two energy patterns created a resonance that no one had predicted. Instead of simply disabling the Void Reaper fleet, the quantum cascade began converting their own weapons' energy back into the fundamental forces that held their ships together. The effect spread from vessel to vessel as their networked systems carried the resonance throughout their entire armada. Admiral Chen watched in amazement as Void Reaper ships began simply unraveling. Their hulls separated into component molecules, their weapons dissolved into clouds of energized particles, and their crews vanished into quantum foam that dissipated harmlessly into space. "My God," whispered Commander Park. "It's working. The entire enemy fleet they're just coming apart." But the quantum cascade was also affecting the human ships. Admiral Chen felt the deck plates beneath her feet beginning to vibrate as the Indomitable's molecular structure started to destabilize. "All hands, prepare for immediate evacuation to escape pods," she announced calmly. "It's been an honor serving with you." As emergency klaxons sounded throughout the fleet, Admiral Chen remained on the bridge, watching through the viewports as the greatest naval battle in galactic history reached its conclusion. The Void Reaper fleet was gone, reduced to harmless cosmic dust, but the human fleet was following them into oblivion. "Admiral," Captain Rodriguez said, appearing beside her command chair with 2 emergency beacon transmitters. "Time to go!" Admiral Chen shook her head. "Someone needs to stay and ensure the cascade completes properly. If even one Reaper ship survives, then we stay together," Rodriguez replied simply, handing her one of the beacons. "Command protocol states that senior officers go down with their ships. Looks like we're both senior officers." Through the quantum network, Admiral Chen could sense the other captains making similar decisions across the fleet. As their ships began to dissolve around them, they remained at their posts, ensuring that the cascade would reach every corner of Void Reaper space. The last transmission from the human fleet was recorded by long-range sensors and broadcast throughout the galaxy. It was Admiral Chen's voice, calm and steady despite the chaos around her. "To whoever receives this message, the Void Reapers have been stopped. The quantum resonance cascade is propagating beyond our local area, reaching into whatever dimension they came from. They won't be coming back. Tell Earth that her children remembered the lesson. Tell them we kept the promise our ancestors made 800 years ago. Tell them humanity never learned how to surrender." The transmission ended in static as the last human ship completed its transformation into quantum energy, taking with it the final traces of the Void Reaper threat. 6 hours later, rescue ships from across the galaxy arrived at the battle site to find empty space where 2 massive fleets had fought to the death. The only evidence of the battle was a field of escape pods containing the few hundred human crew members who had managed to evacuate before their ships dissolved. Among the survivors was Lieutenant Commander Torres, who carried with her the complete technical specifications for the quantum resonance cascade. Within days, the technology was being distributed to every species in the galaxy, ensuring that if the Void Reapers ever returned from whatever dark dimension had spawned them, the galaxy would be ready. But they never returned. Deep space monitoring stations reported that the quantum cascade had indeed propagated beyond normal space, reaching into the hyperspace dimensions the Reapers used for travel. Whatever civilization had sent them into the galaxy was now dealing with the same unraveling effect that had destroyed their invasion fleet. The Galactic Council erected a monument at the battle site, a crystalline structure that would orbit the system's star for the next 1,000,000 years. The inscription was written in every language known to the galaxy, but the original text was in English. "Here fell the second human fleet, in defense of species they barely knew, carrying forward a promise made by heroes whose names are lost to history. They called humans legends. They were right." Chancellor Mordun spoke at the dedication ceremony, her words carried across the galaxy by every communication network. "Today we learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite that fear. We learned that legends are not born from stories, but from the choices ordinary beings make in extraordinary circumstances. And we learned that humanity's greatest weapon was never their technology or their tactics, but their refusal to accept that evil could not be overcome." She paused, looking out at the assembled representatives from hundreds of worlds. "The humans who died here today joined their ancestors in showing us that some things are worth dying for. But more importantly, they showed us what is worth living for. A galaxy where different species can work together, where the strong protect the weak, and where no one has to face the darkness alone. As the ceremony concluded and the representatives returned to their worlds, the monument began its eternal orbit, carrying its message to future generations who would grow up in a galaxy where the Void Reapers were nothing more than a historical footnote. And on Earth, in the great archives beneath Geneva, new entries were being made in humanity's historical records. But these entries told a different story than the official galactic accounts. They spoke of quantum signatures detected in the outer system, of automated beacons broadcasting ancient human identification codes, and of long-range sensors picking up massive construction projects in previously unexplored regions of space. The ancient humans, it seemed, had not died out 800 years ago. They had simply learned to hide better. And now that their descendants had proven themselves worthy of the legacy, it might be time for the old guardians to come home. In the depths of space, far beyond the reach of galactic civilization, massive shipyards that had slumbered for centuries began to stir to life. Ancient machines started building new vessels to designs that were 800 years old, but more advanced than anything currently flying. And in the command centers of stations the size of small moons, beings who had been waiting patiently for the right moment finally began to make their way home. The galaxy had called humans legends. Soon it would learn that some legends were more real than anyone had ever imagined.